So I'm getting back into Grim Dawn, at least a little bit, for the time being. And I wanted to start by getting back into it with the change to Albrecht's Aether Ray that happened in Build 24 that I completely missed, because when I played Build 24, I didn't actually open this guy up until Kavo and I did that 100th episode, or 100th subscriber mega episode. And the change, which confused me at first, until I actually played around with the Aether Ray, was how monstrously expensive it seems to be. So it went from something like, it was like 80 or 90 or 100. It was under 100, I think, energy per second. And I could sustain it pretty much indefinitely. But what happened was they changed the way the ray works, in that it now takes into account your casting speed. So now it's a lot more powerful per hit, and they changed the way the hits happen. Instead of it being on a per tick basis, I actually think it's still like a damage, like tick type of thing, but it's not increased in speed-wise between ticks, but casting speed is rolled into your damage per tick, which is why the beam's cost has been jumped up significantly. But it's not a detriment, because you will kill things faster if you have a focus on your beam. Disintegration works exactly the same as far as I can tell, but the Aether Ray now costs an absurd amount per second. I think it starts at something like 100 per second, and now it's at like 625.1 for me when I have it at rank 24. I almost have it maxed out. I just can't quite get the last like 2 points in it. So for gear, we're just gonna take a quick look. Most of it is what I've shown before. So we have the Blackwood Wand with a Wrathstone. This is new, a Lore Keeper's Band for the +2 to inner focus. It also gives energy regen, energy, elemental damage, casting speed. All around, it's very solid, and I threw a Mark of Illusions in it. The Nether Crown is more Aether damage, more elemental damage, energy regen, +1 to all Arcana skills. And I put a Viscous Venom in there for the physique mostly, but also having resistances is pretty helpful. Myvin's Lens and Myvin's Tome for the 2 set right now. I presently don't have a good tome, and that's kind of annoying me, but I'd have to craft one up. But for the time being, we're just going to use Myvin's Tome, and I could use Myvin's Hood to get the +1 to all Arcanist skills from that, and, you know, more elemental damage, but I think the elemental damage here plus the Aether damage is actually better. I think it ends up giving you lightning or something like that, and I don't really find that useful. The newest item on my kit is the Aether Lord Signet, which I actually had to trade for it because it wasn't dropping. And this is just straight up bonus Aether damage, percent Aether damage. Spirit, a large amount of health and energy, excuse me. A little bit of Aether resistance, which is always helpful against things with thorns, and +2 to Albrecht's Aether Ray. I'd love to get a second one of these, but I actually don't know that I need it. It would, max out my Aether Ray, but I actually think I'm fine with having the +2 to inner focus on this. It also grants the skill Arcane Blast, which is 10% when hit by 10% chance when hit by melee attacks, for you to do a burst of Aether damage. And I threw a Mark of Illusions into that as well. My chest piece is Invigorating Gilded Vestment of the Dranghoul. Mostly for it's a good combination of things for health and energy regen and offensive and defensive ability. And I put a Hallowed Ground in that for the +1 to all Arcana skills. Pants are Hermit's Leg Guards for the movement, for the total damage, and I forgot. I had I think they're like Aether Walker Greaves or something like that, and they have movement speed. Or no, they have Aether resistance, I think. And maybe movement speed, I'd have to look. But yeah, I switched to the Hermit's Leg Guards for the offensive and defensive ability and the total damage and health. And Ancient Armor Plate is a pretty standard thing to put in your legs. My shoulders are some Ascended Shoulder Pads of the Eagle. Really, I could go with the, oh, what are they called? Okay, really, I could also go for the Mantle of the Weeping Eye. in place of that because it's a huge amount of percent Aether damage. And I may actually go back to these, but it depends, because that 8% Aether resistance doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. If you encounter the Briar Thorns, it helps a lot with them. And I noticed that we're actually going to grab these and test it out if I run into Briar Thorns. I noticed that they don't deal as much damage back, and they might have been tweaked a little. So I could go back to those. But also, you know, this makes me Aethery. Bracers, or hands are inscribed bracers, mostly for the casting speed and +2 to Calidor's Tempest, because I do use Calidor's Tempest in this build. Boots are just some Adept's Greaves of Spell Weaving. They're not optimal by any means, but like bonus fire damage does help with the Ray, and you know, it does have energy regen on the boots. The movement speed is sort of an afterthought. Mark of Mogdragon is pretty much the only thing you would really want in your boots. I mean, Mark of the Traveler is a good alternative, though. And I have the Combat Medic's Mark because Field Medicine is really actually kind of good as a heal. You notice it does help you a lot. And it does have energy and health regen, which, again, energy and health regen are DPS stats with this guy. So his energy regen's at 102. Oh, and I forgot. I'll round it out with Frizzik's Utility Pack. I'm still using it, even though it lost the +1 to all skills, because I actually think it's a great set of just utilitarian bonuses from a belt. I could also go for the Chthonian Thread Slash. That was a bad pronunciation of that. The Chthonian Thread Sash, because of the attack damage converted to health and the bonus vitality damage. And I'm considering multiclassing into the Occultist with this guy, and +3 to Destruction might be a thing to go for. The Lifestealer Nova is not... I don't think I've ever seen it work fantastically, but the beam does deal vitality damage. And then lastly we have the Haunt Runeword, which has bonus Aether damage, elemental damage, energy absorption, less damage from undead, whoopie-doo-doo, but +1 to all Arcana skills, and mine, I rolled it with the +2 to Albrecht's Aether Ray. Haunt is also kind of an afterthought of ability. I don't think I've ever really used it, and it's on my bar, but I don't think I'll ever cast it. So, or any other notable things? Oh yeah, I do have a Mark of Dreeg for the damage. For the reduced resistances, but I don't know how effective that is. Alternatively, I would consider going Haunted Steel again. Though, again, I don't know. I actually don't know about attack damage converted to health with the Aether Ray. I think it doesn't proc it enough for it to be useful. But it may be a small bit useful. And we're just gonna run around the rotting I talk good today, don't I? We're gonna go around the rotting croplands just to kill stuff. See, I do still take a good bit of damage when I get hit, but I have noticed that they don't actually hit. Okay, don't lag, game. They actually don't hit as hard as I seem to remember hitting when using the beam. And you'll notice that my energy does go shooting down, but it's coming back pretty quickly. Now, Aetheros is up there, and I do want to go after him. But, and as you can see, like, he went down but quick. Now, obviously... Oh, reflective, that's probably why. So, obviously, like, you may notice the beam does kill things pretty instantaneously. But the problem here is I'm dealing with, like, lots of the stupid things that throw the fireballs at you, the Dominators. So it's like I have to dodge a little bit or get caught in, like, an AoE that I don't want to get caught in. A few other classes to jump to with this guy. But I don't necessarily know that I want to, like, break the pure Arcana spec I have. Specifically, the Demolitionist with the Canister Bomb for stunning. I saw a build that utilized that exceptionally well. and it made me think, oh, that might actually work for this guy. But again, it's like, do I want to break being a pure Arcanist? It would help a lot, because, you know, part of the problem having with him is if he's standing still, he gets hurt a lot. So I may want to actually change to another. I might want to pick up a different class combination that has like a stun or just an ability that could be really helpful for survival. And you may notice my energy does go down a lot, and it's only because I'm encountering mobs very close together. Because if they are spaced, like further apart, it tends to not be as bad. As you can see, like my energy's almost full again, just from a few seconds of not having to fight. And Kalidor's Tempest is really strong. It's a really potent ability, and it doesn't cost anything. So Kalidor's Tempest is a good fallback for this particular character because it costs. Hang on a second. For him, it costs something like, yeah, it has like 93 as its cost. It'd probably be 93 and 18 would be 1. Hey. Would be 111, so it's like, okay, so it's like, it's not like he has 102 as his regen, so he can almost completely sustain Kalidor's Tempest spamming it, and that's like per cast, and it's like it does take a second for it to reset its casting time. So yeah, it's a good fallback for him if he really needs it. I think they did a great job on Kalidor's Tempest. I do still think I guess there isn't a hole. I do still think the Aether Ray, it's lacking a tiny bit of power for what it does cost, but still, it's like it's a hell of a lot better than it was a build ago. And we can always like pincer guys into one place and just let them run into it. I mean, these Aether guys took forever to kill in the last build, and it's like they're actually manageable now. Of course, you can still get stunned. Of course, you can still get stunned by enemies. The other class I was considering going into was the Warlock. But that's more of like if I wanted to take advantage of the vitality damage that's on the beam. Because stacking vitality damage with this beam it just sounds like an interesting way to build around the Aether Ray. But jumping to another class does mean getting rid of Kalidor's Tempest as an ability. So in the in-depth playthrough, I actually missed a thing, which I just walked by. And it's going to be posted oh, hello. It's going to be posted the day after this one, which is the actual lair for that I thought would be in the next build. The actual lair place is in the game, and I was like, I actually saw someone go in it in a video. Actually, it was an Aether Ray video of all things. So it's like I saw them go in there, and I was like, wait a second. This thing wasn't in the game, right? No, it was. I just missed it. Missed it like a tool. Come on. Yes, got the potion off. Dead eyes. Okay, I think everything's dead. Grab the Aether Crystal. It's always a risk going with it, just running into this room. But, Amalgamation here? Yes, he is. Yep. He's dead. And even though, you know, he definitely is... He definitely has some Aether resistance. He still went down quick. So I'm wandering around the fields again with the Mantle of the Weeping Ion in place of my glowy Aether Ascended shoulder pads. And I can tell you, it feels about the same. The only difference is I'm not glowing. And I have a bit more regen. But a bit more regen is always helpful with this build. And... kaboom? No. Damn it. I'm just looking around for random guys to shoot with the beam. Everything pretty much goes down about the same speed. I think the only advantage is I have that extra bit of regen. So they're completely legitimate as shoulder pads for an Aether Ray build. Can I hit him? And now we can just kaboom! Yep, take out the pack and sweep. It's always fun to mix the abilities together. So anyways, yeah, now we're gonna go do the sign off. So I was saying before, the Demolitionist's canister bomb with concussive bomb, when you get 3 points into that, it has a 100% stun rate. So you don't even need, like, you can just put into 25 and put 1 point there, 3 points there. So 29 points gets you a perfect stun. And that would be great for holding enemies still while dropping devastation on them or beaming them. The unfortunate thing is I'd probably have to pull points out of a lot of abilities in here just to get to that. And I don't know if I necessarily want to do that right now. The other alternative I wanted to consider doing is the Occultist to get Curse of Frailty and Vulnerability, because that lowers their Vitality resistance and their Elemental resistance, which is great for the fire and Vitality damage on the beam. But also, Bloody Pox has Vitality damage at the level 20 mark. And picking that up actually might be a good way to take care of crowds as well. Even if it might be a little slower than just Kalidor's Tempesting things around you. The other advantage the Occultist has is Blood of Dreeg, which is a self-heal. And that's always handy to have. And the Nightblade also, with Pneumatic Burst, has a self-heal. Though the Nightblade, nothing really meshes well with this build's damages. The Soldier, you could also get some defense out of that. But for the most part, I think Demolicious or Occultist are the places I would take this for multi-classing, if I wanted to make that an option in the future. I don't quite know if I wanted to devote this guy to a secondary class yet. So, that's just mostly theory crafting on my part. So, that's it. I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. Also, thanks again for getting us to 100 subscribers. It may not seem like a lot, but it is to us, and I'm hoping that we can get to 200 and beyond. So, super extra thanks for that. And I'll see you guys next time for more Grim Dawn, or Borderlands, or whatever.